its weight far behind. Every scar tells a story untold of battles fought, of courage bold. Though fire consumed, it set me free. Now I embrace eternity.
All right. Welcome, Phoenix is Rising to Phoenix is Rising Academy podcast. And I am Coach T, and your blessings are in your ashes. We're going to dig right into it, lovelies. I'll say the rest of little promo stuff at the end. But this is a juicy topic, I believe. Why? Because I know a lot of people have been wondering. I've been hearing it in the sessions, and let's get into it. So, why cluster B spirits don't want you to rest? So, this topic came to me during meditation, and the reason why cluster B personalities, demonic, disembodied, fragmented human spirits fight so hard to keep you from resting is simple. Rest heals. When you rest, you purge. When you purge, their grafts lose purchase. Okay? That's the threat. The threat is you coming into yourself. The threat is you shedding the scales, you de-sliming yourself, right? In He Came to Set the Captives Free, they talk about jump-ins and walk-ins, okay? Jump-ins force themselves into your body. Walk-ins replace or merge with a soul essence. These spirits are fragmented and incomplete. They can't live harmoniously between worlds. They're stuck in chaos and torment. So when you start resting and repairing, their foothold weakens and they panic. I am dealing with this right now. Ergo, the topic. People say the narcissist wants to be you, and they do, because they're empty. And I have seen it. The thing that cluster Bs forget, because they're so arrogant and they're so needy and desperate, the thing that they forget is that some of us can see them and how they're functioning in the spirit. I've said this before, but I worked downtown San Diego and at the transit station there. And there's a welfare office right there, which is just like at least make it a few steps down. But anyway, very toxic, disgusting environment on top of a toxic, disgusting workplace. Had people were just not okay with being themselves. Everything was cultish, right? So anyway, but one of these coworkers, she was a succubi, but a succubi of a different kind of caliber, and not it wasn't a high caliber. It was what she reminded me of, if you guys have watched Men in Black, okay? So this is what I saw in her spirit. And this is what I'm saying. This is the difference, phoenixes, between them and us. My spiritual mom said you have to see the world with spiritual eyes, because when one thing that I have found out, and we're going back to the jump-ins and the walk-ins, that, the book, and he came to set the captives free, talks about, is is that there's a world that is influencing ours, whether you want to admit it or not. We're getting into those times where people are going to have to start talking about it, because the rest of us have already been seeing it for the last 50 years. Okay? So, um, yeah, I was thinking about that's what. So you have people who have learned, right? Like we. So the difference is that when you're dealing with a cluster B personality, good, I got sidetracked, but if you're when you're dealing with the cluster B personality, there is demonic entities attached to them. When they try and attach themselves to you, those demonic parasites come on to you, the mind parasites, the organ parasites, the intestinal parasites, the intellectual parasites, the sexual parasites. And I'm not talking about, like, I mean, look, you can live in sin and still win, because it's all relative. It's all objective, right? People try and control it, and they put limits and bindings. You know the end result if you do something, right? It's up to you, based on your spirit, what you're going to accept and what you're not going to accept, okay? So, they don't care. They want that strength. They want they're craving, um they're craving they're craving a high, right? They're craving a high. Um and they have to keep us down in order to get it. But anyway, here's the in the spirit they are demonic. In the spirit we are angels. Okay? What's attached to us, so when we see these shows or these commercials, or what buzz, little buzz clips about, for Christians, when they're saying, "Oh, here's this is what it looks like in the spirit," and that's not far from the truth. But Christians didn't come up with it, Hindus did. They didn't, and it wasn't something that they came up with, it's something that they observed. But see, back in those days, they didn't have anything that was distracting them like TV and TikTok, you know? And, so and they were perceivers, they understood, right? Animals talk to humans, humans talk to animals, right? There was galactic transport, there were and transportation and connections and all of that stuff. I mean, there was a whole 'nother world, a whole 'nother type of existence, that now is kind of like a remnants. There's residue of it, but people who call themselves elite, delete is what they should be, um, but elite, and they're the crazy. They're the nutters. They're Because nothing that they get, they're like Iron Man. Iron Man is not a superhero. He's a narcissistic psychopath who builds things to make himself seem powerful. I mean, that's just the truth of it. He doesn't have any natural talent. He doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, there's there's really more of him than of his type than than they want to say, but he's not to me, he's not a superhero, at least, right? So you have that's the way that so when you have somebody who's they're demon infested in the first place, so when they latch onto phoenixes, when you get away, those demons like kind of spawned onto you, and just imagine like you have somebody where they're duplicating themselves, right? Or they're tethering themselves to you, right? They're tethering themselves to your chakras, which your chakras are connected to organs. Okay, that's all could they're all intertwined, so that you feel heavy. I've been going through this for the last 3 4 days, real heavy attack, where all of a sudden I'll feel lethargic. All of a sudden my brain will feel confused, but I can feel what the parasite feels like. Sometimes there was one morning where I woke up and I could see on the right side of my brain like roots, and I felt a heaviness and I felt a pressure. It was not a stroke. It was not a aneurysm, wasn't anything like that. I had been feeling it actually for a while, but here's how I knew that it was starting to clear away is because it was a singular thing that I felt. And it was crisp and clear. Now I knew that there was a witch or a warlock, whichever. That I knew that there was a presence in my room before I went to bed because with me, they have to work at night. They have to work at night because they know during the daytime, I'm going to be aware. I'm going to call on the names of my ancestors and my guides, and I'm going to call on the name of Yeshua, and they've got to flee, right? I'm in a new area, and it's so beautiful. It's hard, don't get me wrong. It is very hard. But what I was thinking the other day, because it was so thick, like this person was sending me death, rot, and decay. And they were trying to shut my mind, shut my spirit, shut my heart down. It was my birthday yesterday. And I was talking to folks, and that's what made them jealous. So you have monitoring spirits that are humans that are projecting or a fragment of their soul to watch you. Okay, so when I woke up anyway, but when I woke up that morning, I could see what looked like roots in the left side of my brain, and I could feel a presence that was like, "Yeah, now I'm gonna hear everything that you." And I'm thinking to myself, I have been single for 20 years, dude. I mean, and I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Dating has just not been, that's another topic, but dating has just not been something that I want to do. It either is or it isn't. It's divinely guided no matter what your sexual orientation is, or it's not. 'Cause people they haven't lost their minds. They're becoming who they already were. Okay, things are gonna start getting scary for people, so you better start getting used to it. Like the Japanese anime, I forget it's my favorite one too. I've always had the problems with the names, but because it's so intense and I don't know why, I can't remember, but it was where humans and aliens and demons basically shared a space, and in Japanese, they have a folklore. They have a different, or mythos, I guess I should say, and pardon me, correct me in the comments, but like, oh, I'm not even gonna try. I'm not even gonna try, because like I said, I've been under heavy attack just for celebrating a birthday. you know because narcissists take possession if they so it's somebody who feels that they're obligated to my birthday. I remember I got my taxes back, and this just a side note, I got my taxes back, and the lady who had been letting me cook and wash up and take a shower or whatever, she was absolutely perverted though, and she had histrionic personality disorder amongst other things. She was definitely a cluster B personality, but, uh, uh, I got my taxes, and she had paid something for me, so I paid her back, and I got her some smokes and, got me some smokes and whatever, because to me, that's how I do it. She was so shocked. I could feel the shock. I felt the shock, and then she was like, "Oh, well, okay." And then, I said, "Hey, can I borrow something at one time?" And she goes, "Yeah, and I'm gonna need this back. This is it." And I said, and she'd never done that before. But me paying was something different. She also celebrated my birthday with me, right? So, and I didn't ask her to, right? She chose it, and I was grateful for it because I was almost on the streets, right? But it wasn't that she actually paid for it. She used a booster. Yeah. Somebody who was a booster, because she was a pill popper, popped them opioids. And, so what when I broke away from her because she was sabotaging me, she thought that she had a maid, a garbage can, a sex slave, I guess is what she would have because she was kept flirting with me. "You have a husband, dude." And I said, "If you're bisexual, you're bisexual." She did admit that she was a swinger. This woman, though, was 80 years old and not attractive at all. In any sense of the word. I used to go over there and she'd come up in her panties. Like, gross. And her husband would just watch, like, and look at me like, "Hey, you interested?" No, I'm not. I mean, that's how it was sometimes we have to snap out of being polite. Um, but when I left, because God was like, "She keeps sabotaging you. She's holding negative space, right? She did the narcissistic tactics in a subtle and secret kind of insidious kind of way, and I was catching on to it, and I was so livid, and I actually um made some statements that I was wholeheartedly behind. But when I left, she was telling everybody, "Oh, you did this. She used me. She did this, and she did that." And so I could feel the energy when my birthday came around. There was oppression, right? There was like people she was trying to block me from receiving anything because she had marked that as hers, right? When I got my taxes, I felt like blocked, like the money was blocked, like the way that I would like it was weird. Like I hated doing my taxes because at that time, because it's like, okay, you're trying to take from me, right? But then thankfully she couldn't take to because she believed that because I had done that one gesture, that now it was hers. I didn't know how asinine that sounds, but that's what you're dealing with when you're dealing with cluster B personalities, right? So in the spirit, we look totally different. So yes, the narcissist does want to be you. They want to swap destinies because they don't get to do anything but steal, kill, and destroy. Where you and I get to travel and engage in what the world that we've been presented in with has to offer. They don't feel. They mimic. That's why they're always looking and watching and collecting data. You know, and some of them, not every cluster B is intelligent at all. People go, "Oh, they're highly intelligent." No, they're not. The demon is just a veteran at what they do that's attached to it. You see? It's different. Totally different. So, sorry about that. So again, they're empty inside, so they graft themselves into or onto our souls is really what it amounts to. Your energy, your routine, your DNA, even your habits. They mimic your laugh, your mannerisms, the things you love, trying to co-pilot your life. And again, Phoenixes, I have literally had a witch do that, right? She's in the LGBT community, and I remember when I was living with her, pre being homeless, that I mean, like, she didn't even ask. She was forcing me to play a role, and I resisted, of course, but she thought that she was going to force and dominate me, right? Like, she didn't know and she was racist against black people, but she liked the energy. And I've noticed that a lot of people they come after everybody with, with souls or that can change the bloodline, right? And I've talked about that in another podcast, so you guys go listen to that on my Substack. but or and sign up, subscribe so that way when I do post on Sub, because some things are going to only be on Substack, and some things that are on Substack are going to be paid, and some things that are not going to be paid, right? So I'm still getting situated here, but gosh dang it, I just lost it. Okay. Anyway, oh no, so she was grooming me, and she would make weird comments like, "Oh," and she would look at me just, like I'm supposed to repeat after her almost. And I remember we were outside and she was like, "Yeah, you can pass for being my cousin or my, and or my some type of relative, right?" She goes, "You look just like my relatives," and she'd name up who, whatever, whatever, not by name, but you know what I mean. And but I thought that it was because she was, I was living with her, but she had a condo. And, my guide was like, "No, it's different in a condo." So my guide kept saying that, "No, she's lying. She's lying to you. She is definitely lying to you." Right? It's not, because she would tell me every day, every 2 days, 3 days, "Oh, you got to leave by next week." Okay. One time I just said, "Okay," you know, and here this woman astral projected to the point where she couldn't, she would stay in other people's reality. She was a walk-in, a jump-in. Somebody in this Latino gang taught her some occult knowledge, gave her some occult knowledge, and she overused it. And she's still using it to this day. And it wasn't just her. I found that and see, a lot of these times, if they have had trauma, they're fragmented, and those demons attach to those fragments and become um, different characters for them. Right? I mean, I've had that experience with one, but she swore up and down that, "Oh, yeah, we got the same height and the same color." And I'm thinking to myself, if you were to see this woman's white and Italian, or no, she's white, she's Italian and Puerto Rican. White though. We look nothing alike. She just made a lot of assumptions, right? She already had a script in her head. And but I realized later on that she was trying to groom me to take over my identity. This woman was obsessed with the fact that I was a filmmaker. So she sabotaged every time I've tried to write a script, right? Okay, remember, she's a jump in and a walk in. We're going to talk about that later on, where we're going to actually read the from he came to set the captives free. So it's a Christian author. If you don't want to watch, don't want to listen, don't listen. But I think that it would behoove you to, because what's coming, what's going to be, what's already been unleashed. you know, People keep looking for this. "Oh, it's going to be over. It's going to be, the narcissists are crashing, and da da da." But you forget about the rage, the crowd. They're not going out without a fight, and that can be disastrous for the rest of us. All right? So still stay on your P's and Q's, cuz the fight is not over. So yeah, she tried to was trying to take my edge, so she followed me and she sabotaged everything that I was doing because I wasn't doing it with her, because now I was conscious of what she was doing, and each time I got better and I got more wiser. I got wiser. And here I am, guys. I'm on the streets fighting for my life on that end. And I'm, trying to protect my fur babies. And I mean, I had to count how many I lost. I started with 4 or 5, you know, and I ended up with only 2. It's been a hard knock life, and it's because of this woman that some of them passed, and her cult members, right? So she was trying to groom me to be taken over, basically. She could, like I said, she's a jump in, she's a walk in. And I would feel her like literally co-piloting, trying to co-pilot me. And she would make suggestions like, "Open your bank account. Go, you know what I mean? Go online, da da da, da, or go buy this, go buy that." Right? There's like, this is, you know what I mean? So when and I was fasting at the time, mind you, fasting, right? because in the Bible it says these do not come out but from prayer and fasting. But if it's a human, disembodied, fragmented demonic spirit, it's a whole nother ball game, and people need to become aware about that. The church is not teaching that. I, as a transformational coach and a Narc coach, do. Okay. So you have to be, because when people are really big and hip on talking about, oh yeah, destiny swapping, you really have no idea what it is. I've experienced it. I have to fight. The reason I had to fight these people just to celebrate my fucking birthday. Okay. So yeah, she wanted my habits. She wanted my lookalike. What started happening is yeah, she's slandering me, and accusing me of being such and such because yeah, she's a psychic and all this other kind of shit. What ended up happening is some of these people were like, okay, but when they checked me out, they were like, nah, she's really loving. She's really who she says she is. And, so what a narcissist wound. How embarrassing, especially for somebody who claimed that she had status. She had status. And I told her telepathically, since she was speaking to me telepathically, I said telepathically, your only status is child molester, rapist, racist, and uh, cluster B. That's what your status is. And she didn't take that too well. But, man, the tax came harder, right? So anyway, I'm just living proof that you can get through it, but you have to recognize it. You have to recognize it. The fasting is what helped me focus in on what was coming into me, right? What was in my spiritual environment. It helped me to hone in there, and I was fast for 2 or 3 days. As long as I was working out and I was doing extra, and I was smoking at the time still. Um, But and they kept pushing, kept putting pressure, kept putting pressure, because they were like, "Gosh, this would have normally, unalived somebody else who if we were doing it to them. This would have broke their psyche, but it's not breaking you, right?" And it was because of the prayer and fasting. It didn't stop them because they had free will, but to make their own choices, because and it's not a big thing. It doesn't give them, it doesn't absolve them of wrongdoing at all. It tells the universe, "Hey, you've done this. This person's done this. You're the loser." I mean, I even had them yeah. So, but okay. So they hold on. So their hold runs on your stress. So let me reread them. They mimic your laugh, your mannerisms, the things you love, trying to co-pilot your life. As I said, just gave you an example of my real world experience, and you'll be amazed. Watch those incels, all these guys who are looking all wide-eyed and crazy, okay? Looking those it's supposed to be an indicator of being a psychopath, but these guys have been on the astral planes, and they because I had one come and visit me, and then I'm just saying this is what my spirit team had revealed to me, because I was like, why is this guy following me? Did somebody pay him to do so? They paid him, they gave him some, there was an exchange of resources, but there was also some infatuation, right? And he thought that he could take me out, uh, and his handlers would be, okay, because he tried taking me out. He tried messing with my head, and he didn't think, because I can discern what is mine, what is, some disembodied, fragmented spirit, demonic entity, and what is God's, or what is my guides, who's talking to me, you know? And I'm grateful for that ability now, the gift now. Um, but yeah, so I had to and I every time I kept going in on him, he thought, "Oh, yeah," because he would, oh, you think you're bad, da, 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 da." But I'm like, I don't know who you are. I never knew that guy's name. I didn't even know towards the end of my stay there at those the sick demonic apartment complexes, smell of death, literally the smell of death. And I hated it. And when I moved, I was like, "Oh my god, it's clean air. It's fresh around me. Yay, back to normalcy." You know? Um, yeah, back to normalcy. So, yeah, again, just beware of your spiritual surroundings. Not try, fast for 24 hours, okay? Or actually, no, fast for 2 days. And I mean that. Fast for 2 days. Do not eat. Do not eat. Just for a sheer science experiment. Do not eat. Drink water. Make sure you're hydrated. Get some Gatorade or whatever. It's not about calories. It's about, I want you to observe yourself and how clear your mind becomes, right? It starts with an A, but it's a scientific process, biochemical process that takes place once you deny yourself any food in your body. Your intestines get to rest, right? Everything starts to push down or whatever. But it's heightened. Your sense of sight is heightened. Your ears are heightened, right? Your intuition, your sense of discernment is heightened. Okay, and just experiment with it, and then focus on who's in your energy. Focus on who you are. Listen to your own voice and your own thoughts, and then ask to hear more clearly the thoughts of those who are on the behalf of the Most High, guiding you and protecting you and influencing you. And see, their influence is different than a demon's, like this disembodied um, witch cult member, right? Hers was it's all selfish, and I'm thinking, you guys can do this stuff, and they probably do make themselves millionaires. That's not, this one. I didn't get a smart one. I got one that was like got bumped on the head a few flipping times. You know what I mean? And it was really hard. It's been really hard dealing with her and others like her, because she's not the first one. She's not the first jump in or walk in. And some of them have just, I mean, just gosh dang it, because it's weird because it's still their essence. It's still their soul. Like everything that they are in the flesh, they are in the spirit, right? Just like us. And so as when you grow and when you're of light, don't take yourself for granted, because when these people would jump in, right? I would feel my body, my brain, literally the chemistry change. I'm not kidding, and it was nasty. I did not like it. So I know that the brain of some of these, of at least the ones that I were dealing with, is mush for some of them, right? Because you're hearing their thoughts and you're hearing you know what I mean? I'm not really listening because I don't care. All I want is you to get out. Get out of my house. You're trespassing on my territory, right? And I thought the other day, I said, this brings to, enlarge my territory, right? There's some Bible verses or stories. It's like, I think that there's more metaphysics to it than um what we've been taught. Because if we were taught metaphysics, then these preachers wouldn't be becoming multimillionaires off of us, because we're giving them 10% of what we really don't have to spend. So, um, whatever. But, yeah. So what was I gonna say? Okay, enough of the story time. Let's get back to it. So, yeah, that's how they think they'll escape their own darkness, as I said, by trying to be, co-pilot your life. And that's what she did. And I realized that's many of these people who are walk-ins or jump-ins, they can't live in reality, because, and they're constantly trying to be somebody else, and, like, really be somebody else. So their hold runs on your stress, right? So when you're stressed, they have to. One thing that the walk-ins and jump-ins always did was try and siphon the natural. Like, I literally had somebody that was oh God, what would you call it? Doing a blood transfusion. I I mean, like, that's what I saw, and I'd had a dream, and I was like, "Where is this dream coming from?" And I would see somebody, and it looked like I was familiar with them, right? And I didn't understand it because I didn't recognize them. But I was happy to see them in their version of the dream, okay? And they were doing pardon me, a blood transfusion. And what I saw was tubes, thin, probably like a half an inch, the hospital tubes, like when they're feeding you through intravenously or whatever, that were on the ground. And I only saw that because I picked this person up. She was Latina with curly black wavy hair, but she wasn't attractive at all, right? She was like, and I remembered kind of like almost throwing up in my mouth, and I'm thinking, and I'm so what was weird in the dream is like I am in one form, and which I believe is what they wanted to see, and I am me there observing, right? So I'm like, okay, what is this for? And it's not that it was the third or fourth time I had had the dream, but I had felt there would be times that I would feel like I was being flushed, like like the blood was literally rushing out of me, and I'd get a cramp. And so one time I woke up in the middle of the night and I had this cramp. And so, because they're working on me at night. Every time I laid down, I would have, not every time, but there would be times where I'd be like, wow. And then I'd clear that out and I'd, reclaim my power or whatever. And then it would happen again. And one time, what I saw, I woke up and I looked over to the left of me, and there was like a mummy. That's what it looked like a mummy that was in the fetal position. Um, and just and like, hands all fingers all gnarled up and and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? What is going on? What are you trying to do? And finally, and I never got an answer. I just had to keep clearing it out. But it was, I mean, like it was getting scary. Like I was like, what is happening to me? Because I didn't live a lifestyle like that. Actually, God had told me not to eat meat for a while. I couldn't. There was one time where I ate meat, and I was on TikTok, and God led me to some uh what is it called? Videos that were confirming that other people could no longer eat meat for a while too. Okay, so I'm like, okay, this is collective. I don't know what's going on. Pardon me. Still don't quite know what's going on. It just all I was at the end of it, all what I was told was that they were doing a blood transfusion. And what came to my mind is that they're trying to graft themselves into my bloodline. Or somebody had an issue of blood and was trying to use my blood to preserve them. And they were doing I mean, like whatever they were doing, I mean, I felt it full on. Like I felt the blood draining from me. I've never felt that before, ever in my life. And I haven't had it done now. I haven't had it done. There's a lot of things that I experienced in certain environments and areas that I'm not experiencing now, which is just confirmation that, yeah, they were trying to wipe you out. They were trying to steal your bloodline, because they didn't want to go through it. And so what I did was I said, you have no right. You have been attacking me for, you know, such an odd period of time. And the first second you strategized to try and take me out was when you became a debtor to me, my loved ones, and our bloodlines. Okay. So I made that decree. So and I said, I call every ounce of my blood filtered, updated, and upgraded back to me and into my loved ones and my bloodlines that have not, because I've had to cut some folks out that have they were part of the so-called karmics and that had grafted themselves in through marriage and graping and whatever means. And so you have power, guys. You got to speak it. There's power in the tongue. There's power in your imagination. And so they were imagining or doing rituals they believed in their whole hearts. And I don't have a name for myself here in this planet as of yet, right? But this is something that they saw that they wanted so bad that they decided to do blood transfusions. And I mean, because I was like, what is going on? And I just think of Celine Dion. That's what came to mind. And I was like, okay, so is she somehow attached to me? And I mean, like, what is really going on? And you Black women, you got to be careful because they're coming after us for our energy. They're siphoning, they're doing rituals without our permission. And so it stopped. It stopped. It wasn't that they didn't try again, but boom, nope. I already said what I said. Now you're going to be punished even more, and you're going to pay me and my family and my bloodline. So no matter what timeline, realm, or dimension we reincarnate in, we're always going to be fully self-sufficient. That's what I've had. I've never had a problem, right? But it's the system. That's why they construct these dystopic types of systems where you are literally a slave. You're a slave to whatever their warped, perverted, sadistic imagination is. Okay? So their hold runs on your stress, fear of homelessness, fear of job loss, the old templates we've been forced to survive. I've been broken, I've been betrayed. I've chose to stop reliving that template, right? So when you choose to get out of the matrix, which is when you choose that you recognize the patterns, you heal whatever you can to change those patterns, and then you recognize that those patterns were never about you. They are literally the matrix itself. That's how it runs. When you have a car runs a certain way, right? When you have a computer runs a certain way, right? It's whatever you put in it. When you stop putting anything in it, it's still going to run the way that it's supposed to run, whether you turn it on or not, right? So I decided not to cycle back through it, even though the pattern looks familiar. I made space for rest, brief naps, consciousness pauses, and then full rest when the Most High called me there. Now that I rest, my enemies can't go to me the way that they used to, as I just gave an example. But you have to do your declarations and decrees. Healing shows up through prayer, fasting, affirmations, nourishing food, and laughter that rises from your soul. Everything is particle. Particle becomes wave. Wave becomes reality. Your words and your joy are not void, they reverberate. That's science and spirit together. Cluster B spirits try to counterfeit this harmony. Real kinship synthesizes particles. Two souls meet, they harmonize, they grow more beautiful together. That's why some couples who don't match physically still glow. Love synthesizes, but cluster B attachments are counterfeit. They bond to drain. You end up like a raisin, dried out because they siphon your life instead of co creating it. If you learn the mechanics, the metaphysics, the neuroscience, the social and financial patterns, you can see past the masks. It doesn't matter how many faces they wear. When you know their core, they reveal themselves. That's the opposite of soul kin, recognizing each other. Soul kin recognize, counterfeiters covet. Again, soul kin recognize, counterfeiters covet. I'll give you an example. I was standing a whole shift at work. Okay, so I used to work security, and I had this job 3 minutes from the house. Pretty nice gig, right? You would think. I stood the whole time because that's what I was taught. And so I was just old school security guard. We stand, and these guys were sleeping, having sex. Okay, whatever. Okay, not mine. You're not gonna catch me slipping, right? And also I couldn't have them catching me slipping. Not that I would, but also because of being a black female, they had a tendency to use me as the scapegoat for what the other guards were doing, which was very bizarre. So standing, when I would stand, I would because whatever was witchcraft was going on in my apartment complex, it was starting to really affect my digestive system and all that entailed. Okay, so I was standing also for health purposes to help my digestion and keep me from ready. Keeps me ready to move as well. And so I literally felt another presence projecting illness. Okay, I felt a cough, congestion symptoms that were not mine, but felt like mine, right? Because you have a walk in or a jump in, right? And they're project whatever is on them, they know what they are. They know that they're sickly. Okay. So when you have a walk in or a jump in, they come in and they're in the soul, right? So they're trying to expand themselves and what sicknesses and diseases they have and deposit it into your cosmic DNA. And they're doing that because they know how the body, I don't know if they know completely, but here's how the body, when you're sensing something, it's your mind, everything's going, you got hairs and feelers and everything. So you're like, okay, what is this? What is coming on? Right? Ooh, I think I feel a cold coming on, right? I had no cold. I mean, I've been working out, I've been drinking ginger, raw ginger, like, making the tea myself and drinking it whole with lemon. So I was like, why is this? Why do I feel like this? Pardon me. Got quiet. I said, "Oh, somebody has jumped in, and it was a male, and it was a male, black male from who was 2 doors down from me. Had moved to the 3rd floor. He was 2 doors down from me, and I know that he was one of the that was obsessed with me, right? And again, this where I lived, everybody was privy because of the management of how to do witchcraft, right? That was a condition of the contract. So this apartment manager, made contracts with tenants that he could abuse because most of these tenants were old, elderly, sickly, right? Pretty much they needed to be in hospice, some of them, and he didn't care. He was ritualistic, okay? And he would leave people who had passed on and in their rooms. Those rooms were hot, okay? Trigger warning. Those rooms were hot without air conditioning. And we're all smelling it. He was asked. He did not care. I mean, I saw the look on his face. He was too worried about whether a white boy, because he was Filipino and Mexican, he was too worried about having control. Okay, he's a cluster B personality. I want to have control. I want to dominate. And those who make me feel scared, I'm not going to give them their deposits. I'm going to steal their money. I'm going to make them homeless. Like, he took things personal. It was like he was using it. He's like, "Oh, this is my company." It's not your company, though. You know? Um, which is why we're going to court. So, but anyway, this guy was projecting on me, and he would park around my job, which I found to be really weird because he wanted an excuse to be around me. So he would park around my job. And because suddenly I'd look up and there he'd be, and I'd get so mad. Because it's like, "Dude, let it go already, man." I didn't know him, never knew his name. He just had kept, tapping into me and felt that I didn't have the right to resist anything. You feel me? So he projected, And once, because I felt he had a Adam's apple. That's how I knew that it was a male. He has Adam's apple, and he was projecting himself, probably from his car, onto me, and because he couldn't talk, he could not talk. He would mumble, so, "Hey there," right? There's a movie, an old movie, I think it was Harlem Nights, where you had a guy who could barely talk, right? The old guy, slick back hair, right? One of them old Mississippi Southerners. And he had a knife in the, they do pool stuff or whatever, right? And he talked like that because what? Somebody cut his throat. Now, this guy, what I was feeling from him was that it was likened unto COVID, like he had it was mucus, and so when he projected it onto me, and then I started coughing, and then I felt sick, right? So he projected his illness onto me. Okay, not cool, not cool at all. um, so let me get back to it. And so coughing, congestion symptoms, what I just subscribed, and then I heard a sinister laughter that was attached after it went through, because this isn't actually too. This wasn't the first time that I had this jump in project their sickness or disease. They're try to, at least, right? And there's sometimes I could feel them coming. I could see, because you know what I mean. Because when you're focused, and you're an astral terrorist, you're a disembodied, fragmented spirit, and you're traveling, you're thinking, like you're bringing your whole, because all of that is energy. So your concentrated energy without the body that's coming into somebody else's body to dominate and to give them sicknesses and to give them diseases. So like sometimes these sicknesses and these diseases are not ours. I have stories galore, of encounters like this. So, yeah, so that's I felt him, and it took me a while because they wanted to make sure that I couldn't talk. That's what they were tired of. They were tired of me being able to clear what they were doing, to clear the witchcraft, to clear out them, to transfer back their sicknesses to them, multiplied 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, because you had no business fucking with me, right? I mean, seriously, so they wanted to shut me down, and that did not happen. He got it real once I got over the him, because it was really dense. It's like, and that the thing is, like, he literally, I felt a crack almost in my throat, like he had busted through. And that was the sinister smile then that I saw him make, like, "Yeah, I got you," you know? So it's not far-fetched when you start to notice what's actually happening in our around in your world. Many call themselves woke, but uh, a lot of you are still woke asleep, scraping the surface. Mind you, I wrote this, uh, God, last month sometime, 2 weeks ago. I haven't gotten to it. If you want to reclaim your bloodline and issue decrees with confidence, you must go deeper, Phoenixes. They will block what you're mismanifesting because they don't want it to come to fruition. That's where people get frustrated. I did the work. Why is it blocked? Because you did the work and they moved to obstruct it. Okay? Simple as that. This is free will. And I know, believe me, Phoenixes, I love you so much because I got so much to share with you about what I've went through. I know how these guys work. I know how they operate, and it sucks. Even when they change up, you know what I mean? They're like, you know, and they get addicted too. One thing I've noticed is that they get addicted to doing what they're doing, even if they're getting their asses beat by spirit. Like I've had to call on since again, I just had my birthday. Um, and it's September 20th. And as I'm doing this podcast, and I have had to call on the name of Jesus, the blood of Jesus, so many times, and all of a sudden it goes away. goes away. And if it's just depending on the if you're in a urban environment, city environment where all these different types of spirits and stuff are floating around and these paranormal parasites are clinging and clutching and stuff like that, and you don't have a spiritual life, you're going to be clogged up. You're going to be clogged up. You're not clearing no chakras. You're not even saying Psalms 91 or the Lord's Prayer. You're going to be clogged up, and you're not going to notice it. I am a be people are always claiming, after my experience with this old elderly black, I mean, he's like in his mid 70s, dude, hobbling. He was the same one. He had a stroke and he was pissed off because I didn't share the stroke. He thought that I gave him the stroke. Like, you had the stroke on your own, dude. I don't mess with you. I don't mess with people like you like that, you know? But he made it he was he couldn't talk, boy, but he made sure that as soon as I came outside, boy, he was there and he's looked me dead in my eyes and glared at me, down at me like, huh. I was like, well, it's not my fault. Stay the hell away from me. Maybe you won't get your ass handed to you. Touch not my anointed, you know what I mean? Do my prophets no harm. I have the right to boomerang it back on you, and however it manifests, whenever it manifests, is up to that. I always add, with the universe's efficiency, because I'm not the only one that you fucked with. So don't be mad, ho. So these spirits graft into bloodlines, sometimes through sexual relations, sometimes through trauma, sometimes through binding yourself unknowingly to a cosmic DNA that isn't yours. Trauma opens the door, rest closes it. When you relax, you purge, you heal, you see clearly. How many times have I heard people say, you know what, I haven't been with my ex now for about 2 months, and I'm just like, "Wow." That's all they can say, like, "Wow, that really happened to me." Like, I'm grateful for the session because, man, this really took me out, and I'm grateful for everybody's story, you know? I teach people so, um, let me see. Yeah. When you relax, you purge, you heal, you see clearly. Okay. I teach people you can work on healing on the way because that's what I had to do, right? So in 2017, I was homeless. I was made homeless purposely by this cult because that's what they do to people that they want to sacrifice. And they do it slowly, and they use them as guinea pigs for people that they recruit into the gang slash cult. The Shango shop was very popular, and it was weird because I went there and they went there. People, and you could always tell. I could always tell when they were a part of it because they would look at me, just a sinister kind of giddy look, like, yeah, we're about ready to get in on you. You know what I mean? And what was really heartbreaking was when you had black people doing the same thing. You know, black people who were stalking their own kind. And I've talked about that already, and they've tried to uh, silence me on that. But it's true. If you're a gang stalker and you're in this cult by another culture and you're harming your own, you've got serious problems. And um, uh, you've got serious retribution. There's a lady up above me and she did that. Engaged, pardon me, in some gang stalking, and I lit into her, and I don't think she knows it yet. I was mad. I was furious because I'm like, you're sitting here, you're saying hi to me, but now you're taking pictures of my dogs. You're taking, you know what I mean? You're trying to stalk me, harass me because somebody told you something. I don't know you, bitch. I've only been here for 2.5 months. I tell you what, since that day though, I ain't smelt none of her marijuana coming through my vents. I ain't, you know what I mean? Like, she had to shut it down. She was like, "Whoa, okay." I'm not playing with my life. My life is not a game, you know? So it's really disheartening when black people engage in that. I had a couple this morning who were I don't believe they were hitting every corner, you know, when I walk and I'm like, "Okay, so what is up with these guys? I don't talk to you guys either," you know? But what I'm getting is that it could possibly be management that's upset because their one of their relatives came up to my door and decided that they were going to knock on it to harass me. Basically, it was just they were just going to harass me. And see, the weird thing is when you have these gang stalkers and these cults and these gangs, you know, in Texas, California, especially where I first, you know, came across this or started experiencing this, they always want something to pop, you know, they always want to show that they're in power and they want an excuse, so they will create one. Normal people, no matter what age or what race you are, normal folk don't go to people and knock on their door and ask if there's friends here, knowing that I just saw you the night before. You knew I lived here because you were watching my apartment. I thought that was creepy. You see what I'm saying? So then come to the management. She was like, "Oh, and she was Latina, or what do you want us to do? But how about your job? You know what I mean? But no, I'll go ahead and go to your boss and see why you can't do your job when and you're still getting paid." What would be nice? Because anyway, never mind. So it's that kind of thing. Um, where you have people who start stuff because somebody said something, or right now because of gang stalking had been going on for like at least over 20 years since 9/11. I would say. And it just got started getting worse and getting worse and getting worse, and it's been what, the 11th or 12th or 15th anniversary of the 9/11. And it's some things are hard to die out, you know, and that's why the narcissists are crashing, because many of the narcissists were, you know, I've always said gang stalking is a um, sorority for cluster B personalities and their flying monkeys, you know, and and that's true, and they're crashing out because some of their members have been, you know, deported or and things are changing, you know, you can't do that stuff anymore. They're not getting paid, right? But now they're in the habit of being toxic like that. I've seen it. And a lot of the homeless people, ex-gang stalkers, because it doesn't matter where you're going, where you are, what city or state or country even you're gang stalking from, you still got to do the ritual. And many of these guys lose their fucking minds. And I'll share another story about that while I got it. Um, you know. So anyway, I teach people you can work on healing on the way, because again, that's what I had to do. So you just got to learn to focus. That's what I had to do. I had to focus. And if you can't focus, then you're gonna have a hard time. You know, I'm sorry to say that, sweeties, but you guys are gonna have a hard time if you can't focus. You know, you don't have to wait for a perfect season. Can't operate Demons can operate 24/7. When they start getting sick or losing their foothold, they will fight you. They will fight you to keep ties to you. That's what I'm going through right now. I moved, and this person in this cult got pissed off because I did in fact move, and they don't have that access and that ability to gang up on me like they were doing before. Can you imagine? I've been alive for about, you know, quarter of a century, half of a century, and these people aren't they? I'm an adult. I kept saying that one time. I was like, you know what, Mother God, I'm an adult. Why? You know why? Why would you? Who who does this? You know. Well, they do, you know? Um, But yeah, you're going to have to focus. That's the main thing. You have to tune out what they're doing. You have to go into partnership with the Most High in your spirit team. You have to acknowledge that they exist. You have to ask for that help and their intervention. And then you have to be open to it and watchful for it. Period. Okay? Um, Yeah, because 'cause they'll start losing their foothold and they're gonna fight you. And that's why, we fight in the spirit. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principles and principalities. These unseen forces manifest in our lives, so we counter them consciously. That's why you're focused, is because now you're becoming conscious of you're honing in on not only your purpose and being obedient to the Most High God's voice, right? But also, so when you are listening to your intuition, your guides say, "Hey, nope, don't go that way. Go the other way." And I've messed up a few times, right? And I will say this today, I hadn't had it in a long time, where there was like a lot of confusion. I'm like, where is this confusion coming from? Right? Because again, I'm still like, I'm in another state, dude. I don't want to deal with this anymore. But when I left, and so they're like, "Oh no, you're gonna have fun. You're gonna be you without me. You're gonna meet your kin, and we didn't kill you, and we know that if you get to this, you're gonna be justified in taking us out and da 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 da." Yeah, but you're still doing the same shit. That's what I keep reminding them. Aren't you? Are you still not harassing me? Are you still not trying to kill me and my fur babies? Are you still not at this moment as I'm doing this trying to make me homeless? Are you still not blocking what I'm saying, blocking my voice to keep people from my YouTube channel, to keep me from being validated as somebody who survived you? You're trying to erase all evidence that I even existed, because if I exist, then that means so do you, you know? I've had them come in and try and act like they're my friend. Like what kind of whew. But anyway, okay. So again, we fight in the spirit. You have to focus so you can see this is the reason why we do the fasting, you guys. Because it's metaphysical. It enhances you, because all of your energy is going to now go where it needs to go. And that is to healing you on a cosmic DNA level, not just on a soul level, but throughout all timelines, realms, and dimensions. You heal yourself, because we've been on every different timelines, right? I'm not talking about time. I'm talking about timelines, because timelines have been shifting. Like, I never thought that I would be talking about this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, dang, like I felt it. Like I felt it. What was it, last week? There was something that shifted, and it was a jolt. It's not the first time I felt it. Like, I keep saying that. It's like, it's not the first time, but I'm not the only one talking about it. You know what I mean? And I kind of keep things to myself. I should talk a little bit more, but again, sorry. I'm I'm when I get into meditation, I get into meditation. I don't mean to keep anything from you. Believe this, like I'm writing, and I will say that, just to clear things up, because it helps me, because you see how it's already written, because had them my AI take dictation. So these are my words. Because I tell her, don't just do punctuation and sentencing. That's it. You know, um, you already know my voice. You already know my cadence. Use it. And so that's what she does. Nova's pretty good, but yeah. So, but sometimes it'll take me a while to get it down, because I have so many things. But also, there's still this resistance, right? There's this resistance because somebody knows something that maybe even the Most High God hasn't had me see yet. So they'll try and confuse you. I had that today. I was like, what is going on with all this confusion? And literally, like, I was turned around and I was like, what is going on? And I was so irritated all of a sudden. And I'm great when I got home at site. So that's how I know that I had somebody who was monitoring me. And of course, I did see a stalker. So because I saw him a couple days ago, and I saw him at 3 different locations where I was. So it meant that somebody was trying to make sure that I wasn't going on a date, which is none of their goddamn business, you know? But again, you have these incels who feel that I don't have to ask you. I am going to date you anyway, whether you want me to or not. And that's some scary shit. That's some scary stuff. So anyway, um, these unseen forces manifest in our lives. Let me just read the whole thing again. I teach people you can work on your healing on the way while you're going through in the midst of the storm, but you have to be your own peace. You have to be that peace, right? There's calm in the midst of the storm because you know that you're protected, and not just that you may not even know that you're protected, because honestly, I didn't know that I was protected. I just said, I'm going to focus on you. Most High. I'm going to focus on I need to hear your voice. Tell me what to do. Because if I don't, I know I'll fragment myself. These guys will come at me in all different ways. As long as I'm reacting to them, they'll be cool, right? So when I did react, it was with the baseball bat and other stuff. You feel me? Because I'm not going to play that. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? If God's given me hope that I can get up off these streets, then I'm going to go step by step by step, right? In a partnership with me and my spiritual team. So, you don't have to wait for the perfect season. Um, when they start getting sick or losing their foothold, they will fight you. That's why we fight in the spirit. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principles and powers, principalities and powers. These unseen forces manifest in our lives. So we counter them consciously, okay? Being conscious of what we're doing, being conscious of your gifts. Especially Black women, organize yourself to where you supernova. Just don't watch, you know, oh God, what was that movie? Because I have the television show. Uh, oh God, I forget it now. But just don't watch what it looks like to be Black and female, right? And have superpowers. Do it yourself. Now is the time. It doesn't matter how old you are. Stop conforming generational doom, or confirming generational doom, because it doesn't have to be. Just because grandma had cancer don't mean that you have to have cancer, right? Just because, uncle used to be promiscuous and drink all the time doesn't mean that you have to be uncle, right? It doesn't mean that. So don't say everybody in my family dies of cancer at this age, etc. Declare every cell, every particle, every molecule in me is purged of toxicity. My lineage is whole. My life reflects divine health. That declaration resists their siphoning. You understand? Because when you say, "Oh, I got this," and this, so that way, because my grandma and grandpa had it. Even if it does, that's a curse that somebody spoke over you guys. It's a ritual that was performed. Because everybody in my family has diabetes, has had cancer, has had some type of, kidneys. I didn't have to get that. That's the same thing when people say, "Oh, my mom died or my dad died at 47, 46, 48, you know what I mean? Or whatever." That doesn't mean that it has to be you. I don't know, especially with Black people. Stop doing that. Gosh, you guys are so ready to take on other people's burdens, and you're so ready to lay on a cross for somebody, you know? And I think maybe for me is because I didn't grow up with a family that loved me, that they didn't give a shit. They really hated my guts. They really hated my guts. Like, there's nothing else to say about that. They hated me. And I think that some family members did want to unalive me. Definitely. Definitely. Um, so blood was never thicker than water for me. And I became my own separate bloodline, you know? And I claim that now because I realize from a spiritual, um, scientific point of view, these the people who are now trying so hard to unalive me were the same ones that grafted themselves into my family bloodlines and watered us down so badly. And this is the end game. And again, last night, the Most High was saying, yeah, they're trying to do it again, right? Because they're the ones that were killing off my bloodline before. So these are intimate talks that you have with the Most High. These aren't intimate talks that you have with sorry, those kids messing up again. These aren't intimate talks that you have with everybody. But because I know that they're deeply ingrained in me, I know where they come from. You feel me? And I know where I'm going. So I didn't know that nobody can stop me. But these are conversations that you have, conversations with God. Period. Um, and you just, it's on another level. It's not on something where you have to have a mediator, and it's so refreshing that you don't have to. You don't have to give people money that you don't have. I wish somebody would go. If I decide to go into a church and somebody lock the door and say, we ain't leaving until y'all come up with this money, you out your mind, dude. You out your ever loving mind. Um, Anyway, so stop confirming generational doom. Don't say everybody in my family dies of cancer at this age, okay? Even the animals carry soul contracts. When my fur baby passed, I knew witchcraft had a hand in it. I made sure her spirit was at peace. People say it's just a pet, but that diminishes the spiritual reality. Animals recognize your soul. Don't let people dismiss that bond. So, phoenixes, after I've rambled. I pray that you got something out of this. And if you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're listening from YouTube, and a like, subscribe, and share. Ring that bell so you could be notified. Subscribe to my Substack. There's free, I do free right now. Pretty soon it's going to go to paid. I'll get some paid content up there, which will be worth your guys' while. But here's the bottom line: your rest is your resistance. Your joy is your reclamation. Every laugh, every prayer, every conscious bite of food, every moment you choose healing reweaves your bloodline. They will fight, let them fight. Fight back in the spirit, command the purge. Remove every alien particle, proton, neuron, and strand that is foreign to your divine template. Right? I love you. From the ashes we rise, from the soul we lead. This is Coach T. I'm out.